powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting live from Daytona Beach, Florida. This is Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Rupe, and we are live on the Fringed FM, KTLK, digital broadcasting. Trying to do something weird here. I got apparently Telegram lets us video chat, and so I have a members Telegram, and I'm trying to see if I can video chat in here, if it'll let me. But everything is going wonky, so you guys got to give me a little feedback here, because we might actually start taking calls in there, if that's possible. Like have a members line or whatever. Anyways, if this is your first time listening to the broadcast, we talk about all things eclectic, the paranormal, consciousness, out-of-body stuff, magic, the occult, everything. We're here part of the Fringe Late Night. If this is your first time listening to the broadcast, thank you wherever you're listening from. Even if it's the first time on TuneIn, right? So I gotta say this: there's lots of places you can listen. You can listen to us on the Fringe FM app, which is really cool. You can listen on TalkStream Live. You can listen on the Paranormal Radio app. And then as far as our station goes, we have our own app. You can listen on the website. There's web players. You can listen on Google Car, Apple CarPlay, Google Car Audio. And even if you have a Roku or Xbox, you can use TuneIn on there, right? So I'm trying to do a whole bunch of new stuff at once. And I want to welcome some of the new shows to the radio station, by the way. We have the One-on-One podcast, My Family Thinks I'm Crazy, the Hero Health Show, and what am I missing here? The Chessman is on as well. We got 4 new shows coming. We got more new shows coming too, though. We also have Black Hoodie Alchemy from Anthony Tyler, which is kind of crazy and sultry. It's really cool. So yeah, I'm trying to do some new stuff tonight just for the members because they deserve more, right? They really do. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about something that I was listening to earlier, and yeah, it has to do with astral travel, and it's a little weird, but I have to figure this out. So, reading Robert Monroe's book, he talks about this weird this place that he goes to. He calls it Locale 2. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's like your second body state. So supposedly you have a second body. And in this state, he keeps ending up in really weird places. And this one chapter, it just freaks me out. But the chapter, I think it was like chapter 6 in the first book, he started out talking about prayer and how that it's an irrational thing that we do. But I think it was because he was praying in the astral realm because he was freaked out. And he ended up going through like this hole or something. And he thought that this place was heaven. And I wish I could play it on the air. I just don't know what the copyright is on that. But he said there was some kind of sense or some knowing that someone was coming into their kingdom. And that everybody that was in their second state bodies in the astral realm had to lay on their backs. This is the weirdest shit I've ever heard of in my life. They had to lay on their backs, turn their face sideways, and extend their gut, like their torso out, which was a form of submission, he said. Is that not weird? Okay, everybody, so we can see you. Can y'all hear me in there? Robert, Macon, what's up? Macon, Lacey, cool. All right, so he's like got his gut sticking out, and he said, I feel like there's nothing, he said, there's nothing you can do about it. Whatever this thing that comes in, and it sounds serpent-like, right? It sounds like like a snake, almost. But he said, whatever you can do, that's all you can do. You can stick your stomach out. You can turn your face sideways. And it's a form of submission to whatever is coming in his kingdom. That is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. And why your torso? And he even made it specifically clear. He was like, not your torso or not your genital area, but your torso. Right? Like, why would you stick that out? And he said it was just a form of submission. I think it has something to do with, like, you know how when babies are born, their bellies kind of stick out? Like, it's like the most sensitive part on your body. But if there are really energetic centers to us, then there has to be something to that. I don't know. I just thought it's weird. It's something that ever since I've been listening to this guy's book, I've been thinking about, right? Like, it's really weird. That and the fact that we do have a second body. I don't know if you guys were listening to Joe Rogan's show with Sadhguru, which I'm stoked about that. I can't believe Joe Rogan had that guy on. But he talks about that, right? Like, he talks about how we have this etheric bodies, and that's what yoga is all about, like the expansion of the body, to be able to feel everything around you. It's not really about exercise, so to speak, but it's so you can feel everything around you. But there is no other text. There's no spiritual text. There's no mystery school text, not anything that I've ever read that talks about this kind of submission in the astral realm. But he also says that there's a place that in this place, your emotions are just exuberant, I guess is the word he uses. I don't even know what that means, honestly, but like there's so much emotion that you can't handle it. It sounds cool to me. I mean, I'd like to feel that. But he even says when he submitted his torso to whatever this thing was, that he didn't feel scared or submissive or any negativity. It makes me wonder, like, it just makes me think about a lot of stuff. First of all, if you've read anything of Carl Jung, the mind and consciousness is a trip. Because in his books, in the Red Book, he kind of uses what we call in magic scrying. He kind of uses, it's really scrying, but just with his own mind. He's not using any pictures or anything. I think some people think that's astral projection, by the way. That's why I'm bringing this up. But even the people that he met in those realms that he thought were just thought forms or things in his head, he said, are those, and they were like, these characters were like biblical, by the way. I was listening to Gordon White talk about this today, but he said that those characters told him that they are actually older and more real than humans. And this isn't even astral projection. This is just like thoughts. I also did this audiobook called Thought Forms with Adult Brain Publications with Grow America. And you guys got to listen to that because there is real power in our thoughts, by the way. So I don't want to stray too far here. But if that's real, and then when you figure out how to get into like a second body state from your physical body, and then you figure out how to fly around, and then you figure out how to start going through all these different like dimensional places where he called some places that are like hell in the what do you call it? Locale 2. Heaven and hell. And while he's goofing off around in there, he ends up in a place where he has to just lay down, expose his torso, turn his head to the side, and he likes it. He likes the submissiveness of whatever this thing is that's coming, that he says, coming into his kingdom. And people wonder why. People wonder why, like, I'm really careful. I try to be really careful about this stuff because I know it's real. All of the things we talk about, astral travel, magic, enlightenment, alchemy, all this stuff is real. But there are things that are happening in these realms that we have no earthly idea about. So to presume to move around in these things or to dabble has always kind of freaked me out because we don't really know what we're dealing with, you know. Does anybody like know what the hell that could be? I got to open the phone lines up, but if you guys had an experience or remotely any idea of what the hell he could be talking about. Because the only thing that I can think of when it comes to the boy that's pouring outside, the only thing that I can think of that what he's referring to this in any of the books I've read are serpent kings. Or, you know, there's a lot of history about serpents. Things of that nature. But it's also used as like a symbol just for wisdom or knowledge. But there are texts that talk about like real serpents and that they're not scary or whatever, or I guess they represent knowledge. I don't know. Like my head has just been going crazy lately about this stuff because I want to get back into exploring the astral realm. I've gotten really far too comfortable in my bed, so I have to go to the couch to do it. But I'm afraid I'm going to end up in one of these weird places, man. Because all of the astral projection I ever did, the real out of body stuff that I did was mainly in Arkansas. I don't know what I'm dealing with out here. And with all this energy coming, the full moon's about to come. We're in March. There's a big astrological transformation that's happening before like a rebirth. So a lot of people are going through crazy deaths right now. I am too. I've got all kinds of crap going on with me, but I understand it to a point because I've been meditating. And I thought, well, let me just go back and listen to these books and try to figure out just some techniques where I can get through this easier. And for some reason, that came up. Now, I know when I talk about like this LVX energy, this Luke's energy, some people call it chi. The Golden Dawn called it Luke's. Some people call it the Holy Ghost. There is such a thing as enlightenment. And not enlightenment as I'm enlightened and I'm intelligent and I'm woke, but more like enlightenment on an energetic level. Robert Wang talks about this in his books, and a lot of people do, where this idea of submissiveness, of letting go, I'm a little bit of a control freak. I have a problem with that. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. As spiritual as I am, I have a problem with it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. But if we get to a state where we have, and all these books talk about it, where we have to let go of our ego to the point where we let our higher self just take over. So imagine that. Imagine you're doing the great work and you're at a point where you can't get any more enlightened and you have to let something take over. Your higher self. I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if I could do that. That's what we're supposed to do. Even in Robert Monroe's books, when he talks about all the astral traveling that he did, when he got into the third book, you realize that all the things that he was running into was just his higher self. But still yet, it scares the hell out of me to think about it. Because you have to lose your individuality. All the ideas of yourself, all the ideas of who you think you are. There's a whole alchemical mystery to this. And when you get down to the end of it, it's either I'm a control freak or there's something that's trying to like take over your consciousness. And I don't necessarily know if that's good or bad. Because if it's not like Jonestown where we're killing ourselves, but there's got to be a way to test this. I don't know what I'm getting at here. It's a scary concept to think about. I read Robert Wang's book of the Kabbalistic Tarot, a lot of the Rosicrucian texts, a lot of the Golden Dawn texts, a lot of the astral travel texts as far as Robert Monroe is concerned. And there comes a time when you have to totally surrender yourself to something higher. And I don't just mean it as like a metaphor. And a lot of you listening, I know that we talk a lot about conspiracy and stuff. But man, what the hell are we giving ourselves to here? If you have Robert Monroe's book, I believe it's the first book, Journeys Out of the Body, chapter 6 or 7. And he starts it off talking about prayer. And then once he ends up in this place, I'll tell you something else that's freaky. I think I'm going to try to find it and play it for you. But he ends up in this place. And he said that this serpent actually takes over. Like it'll take some person over that's being submissive. So I want you to imagine this. Just like, I'm not sure exactly what he saw, but this is how he explained it. You figured out how to get out of body. You're flying around. You're going through all these different realms and stuff. And now you're in this place where you can see all kinds of like souls and different people and stuff. And you're all laying on your back with your belly up and your head to the side. And there's nothing you can do about it. All of your emotions are flooding. You have a sense that someone's coming into their kingdom. And then this serpent, like whatever the hell this thing is, ends up picking somebody. And then nobody knows where the hell this person goes or what happens to them. I don't like to talk about freaky stuff, but what if this transformative state, I don't know, like, I don't even want to say this because it could just be paranoia. But I want to know what the hell I'm giving myself to before I surrender to it. Just because a book says it's my higher self or whatever, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is, right? So as void walkers, I always tell people, you know, like, we need to be careful when we're doing conscious exploration. We need to protect our energy. This is something this is the biggest lesson I've learned up to almost my birthday, turning 40. Like, protecting yourself is key in every single way. Even in this life, like, you have to protect your energy. Because we don't know, right? Like, if you I'm not trying to be a negative or anything, but let's think about this. We don't know. We know that we can get out of body. We know that we can become ghosts while we're in our bodies, but we're still attached to them. Like, there's nobody coming back and telling us what happens after they die. Even these people in the hospitals have near-death experiences and their heart stops and all this stuff. They were still attached. They didn't die for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, and come back. So then we have all these people that tell us about spirits and mediums and things like that. We're supposed to just believe them. But this guy, I believe. I mean, the Monroe Institute is still doing stuff today. They're still proving a lot of the stuff they talk about. And this guy's experiences were so freaking weird, man. Like, it's imperative that we're careful. If it doesn't matter if you're doing magic, spiritual work, I don't give a damn, crystal work, whatever. You've got to figure out how to protect yourself spiritually. And then when you're in your life, it doesn't matter who's around you, like how much you love somebody or whatever. Everybody's affected by energies in different ways. And we have to protect ourselves here too. You know what actually made me start thinking about all this? I'm just going to be honest with you. Was the fact that it doesn't matter who's around you. You're alone, right? The cool thing about life is that we get to experience companionship and friendship, community and things like that. But your soul, the journey of your soul, is an isolated event. It's a solo event. And when you pass away, it doesn't matter who's there to hold your hand or if no one's there at all. You're going to pass alone. So I think it's really important while we're here as souls to explore. That's kind of why I made the show, consciousness, and understand these things and try to understand the processes of this stuff without allowing too much dogma to set in and block us from things that we might learn. I forget the guy's name that I talked to that said he went to hell and came back. I don't even remember the name of that show. But I believe him. I believe that there is some type of an experience of hell. Shoot, we got to take a break. But I want to tell you some more weird stuff about this serpent-like being, because I'm just getting started with this stuff here. And then the stories of enlightenment, of LVX energy, some secrets about it, like what it's really about. And then maybe we can kind of talk about what we know with each other. If you're wanting to call in, I'll open up the phone lines. I can do that. And then also We have the Telegram in the members chat where I just turned on the video. It's kind of weird. Like, I didn't even prep for it. I just noticed that you could do video in Telegram. So what's up, y'all, in there? And we might be able to actually take calls in there, although I can't do it in this show. But if you've seen any, like, if you've dreamed, I don't care if you've dreamed or had an astral travel experience or anything like that. If you have any idea what I'm talking about when it comes to like these serpent type beings or whatever the hell they are, like, call in and let me know. 'Cause this is weird. Anyways, hi, strangest tonight and late night. I want to thank Michael Strange for bringing in Lighting the Void, and also for Ryan Gable for staying up late nights with us. We'll be right back talking about tonight. I'm Joe Rupe. If you're just tuning in, this is Lighting the Void. I had to go get my bike out of the rain too. I'm definitely not paying for gas. I'm not going to do it. So tonight I wanted to talk about like this enlightenment thing, right? So as we're doing whatever we're doing spiritually, whether it's prayer, magic, whatever, like, you know, so let me tell you, okay, the reason why I started thinking about death, because I got to start from the beginning here. I've been having a lot of weird dreams lately, and my stomach has been in knots. And I had a dream, and I think I told this on Owen's show, but I had a dream of the black dog, a black dog in my bed. And I don't know if I thought it was because I've been thinking about getting a dog, right? Or a cat or something. But I don't think that's what it was. So I was laying in my bed, and it was another dream where I could see my room. Like, I could see everything that was in my room. I didn't think I was asleep at all. And I was laying in my bed, and a black dog was laying behind me with his feet in my back. Almost like I was the little spoon and the black dog was the big spoon, right? And it just freaking wigged me out because I don't have a dog, you know? And so I jumped up and I stood up in my bed. And my bed's behind me. I know if you guys on the Telegram chat, y'all can see it. But so right there next to that brick wall thing, it was laying like left, you know, just sticking its paws in my back. And it's a dog. Dogs are harmless, right? Like, it wasn't trying to hurt me or anything, but yet it still wigged me out. And so I picked up my pillow and I started hitting it, like, get out of my bed, right? And you know how dogs get excited? They start like growling and doing that just kind of woof thing, right? So it jumped out of my bed because I was hitting it with a pillow, and it stood right in front of me, and it looked like a solid black Doberman Pinscher, almost like an Anubis type dog. And I was pointing at it. I was like, what the hell are you doing in here? And for some reason, I started yelling for my grandmother, because the last time I had a dog in my bed, I think I was a kid, and my grandmother's dog used to jump in the bed with me like that. The damn thing wasn't trying to hurt me. It just was attaching itself to me in a weird kind of hyper type way. But for some reason, like in the dream, I was wigged out. And then I woke up and I started looking up like dream symbols. What's a black dog represent? And when you look up dream symbols, it tells you sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But it got me thinking about Anubis and all kinds of different things like that. And this transformation type stuff. And after having about the fourth or fifth weird dream, I thought, damn, maybe I'm not, because I was doing the dream thing with Owen's crew, and there's a girl in there named Abby, and she's like really good at interpreting dreams. And I thought, maybe I'm not protecting myself good enough. But at the same time, she was like, well, this dog doesn't seem to be like it wanted to hurt you. It was just excited. And it represented an old wound that you needed to take care of or something. She had a long thing about it. But that got me thinking, like, I also thought it could be Led Zeppelin's song, Black Dog. So I looked up the lyrics in that song, and that whole song is about, you'll have to listen to that song, but the whole song is about a woman. So I'm thinking that don't have anything to do with it, because I didn't feel any of that in a dream. I felt like something was just trying to attach itself to me in a hyper, but a loving type, hyper way. So I know I'm being weird tonight. I'm sorry, y'all. But like, have you ever pet a cat? When you pet a cat, some cats get excited, or even dogs, and they're not trying to hurt you. They just get really hyper and excited and nervous. And the next thing you know, they're biting you or swatting you or something like that. Well, this is kind of like what the dog was doing. Like, it was just nervous energy. Does that make sense? I hope I don't sound like an idiot. But anyways, that got me thinking about all this stuff. And so I started getting back into my books again, because I've been having trouble sleeping. So I'd read myself to sleep, and I was reading about what the Golden Dawn thought about what enlightenment was initially like giving yourself to the holy guardian angel, letting go of who you think you are as a person, your ego, like everything. It's a total transformation. That's why they take you through all these elements, all of these different things. So when this LVX force, Kundalini energy, whatever you want to call it, starts coming into your body, as you're giving yourself up to your higher self, you're balanced spiritually. So you don't kind of like go crazy or something weird happen to you or whatever, right? And if you look into hermetic energetic transformation, the energetic side of it is prolonged life, higher energy, higher vibrations, things like that. Unity type love. And it all sounds awesome. I mean, I was like feeling like my old self again. Yeah, like I'm back and I'm studying all this stuff again and getting into it. And then I made the mistake of putting Robert Monroe's books on again. And here we are talking about a guy that traveled consciously, that didn't really dabble with the occult or mysticism or anything like that. He just went wherever his curiosity took him and did things scientifically in a way where he tried to prove things. And he did. I mean, theoretically, he did. So when he ended up in this realm where he had to be totally submissive, which is weird enough, and a hyper inflated sense of something that's coming into its kingdom, is what he said, with everyone around in total submission. Because he said there's all kinds of ways to like submit yourself with your body. But for some reason, laying on your back, turning your face over and like sticking your torso out was total helplessness. It was total submissiveness, total vulnerability. And I wonder, okay, is this like symbolism? And this serpent is coming through into his kingdom. I know what some people are thinking, oh, it's Luciferian or whatever. It could be symbolism. I don't know. We don't know that his brain wasn't doing all this stuff, but according to him, he was in his second body, locale 2. And as this thing is coming through, somebody in the crowd is going to get selected, and nobody's going to know where the hell they went. On the tree of life, there's this place called Doth, which is the abyss. And you have these different realms of creation that start from the top down to earth, you know, Atziluth, Braya, Yetzirah, all that. And the astral side of it, there's the earthly elemental side, which is the side that we're on, which is what all of magic and the Rider-Waite Tarot was based upon pretty much. Well, it's all on the tree, but all of the magical elemental system, which the Sadhguru guy was talking about on Joe Rogan. He talked about it in an Eastern sense with the tattvas and stuff. Another thing they taught in the Golden Dawn, but still he was talking about it. And then the Yetziratic world, which is the astral light, the world of dreams, the astral realm, where Christ consciousness is, where you've mastered all the elements. And now you're mastering the Sphinx, and you can see the path to the Sphinx, which is where the bigger mystery is. And then above that is the abyss, where the first energies of creation are. Now, when I talk about Kabbalah, you guys have to understand, you cannot look at the Kabbalah as the actual map of the universe. It's simply just a glyph that people made out egregorically after years of study and meditation and stuff. It doesn't actually mean literally what it looks like. It's just a kind of I guess a guide map for astral and conscious travelers, if you want to look at it that way. Magically, if you want to look like manifestation, you could do it that way too. Whatever. What freaks me out about this whole thing is what I'm saying, is whether it's the story of Jesus giving himself up over, facing his fears, facing the death, going through the abyss, coming into his second body, the resurrected energetic body, all right? Or if it's the teachings of chi, or if it's the teachings of prana or kundalini or the LVX force, or giving yourself over to holy guardian angel, this submissiveness spiritually to something higher than yourself, I think is a really important key into the great work. But make no mistake about it, there is a fear barrier there, which is something that, like, I'm definitely dealing with right now, symbolically in my dreams and also just in my head. When you do these methods of scrying, whether you're using tarot cards or tattwa, or you're just using the Jungian method of where you're kind of just jotting down everything that comes to you, you're picking apart your psyche, your unconscious, your wounds, everything about yourself. At some point, it becomes really vulnerable where you have to let go. And we all know that, like, letting go is the last part of manifestation, right? If you want to look at the magician card, you can say, well, the magician card represents the transmitter. It's a balanced transmitter of reality, as above, so below. It's the transmitter and the transcending. It's everything, right? But also, it's the magical manifesting force, but it doesn't manifest until you get to the Fool, which is letting go. I think that no matter what, whether you practice magic or whether you're just going through life or whatever the hell it is you're dealing with, I think one of the biggest lessons that we have to learn is how to let go and just let things happen. So we learn these lessons microcosmically while we're in life, just like the Egyptians taught, because, or even some of the Western mysteries taught, because when we get to this place in these spiritual worlds, it is crazy, man. The stuff that these guys are talking about, that Robert Monroe is talking about, is insane. It's just incomprehensible to me. And how did he even get there? That's what freaks me out. He got there just by being, like, curious. Actually, it was really weird the way he described it. He was in this place that he couldn't fly anymore. He developed a technique of flying in the astral realm where he developed this stretch method and all this stuff. But he ended up in this place where he saw a ladder. He said it was 100 yards away. But when he got to it, he realized it wasn't a ladder. It was a tower. So he climbed up to the tower and tried to. Now think of this symbolically, because I wonder if this is like the astral realm just giving him realistic, like, symbols. I don't know. But he climbed up to the top of this tower and tried to fly off of it. And he landed on the ground. It freaked him out because he was always able to fly in the astral realm. He couldn't fathom that. Now I'm in a place where I can't fly. Like, it's not working. And then he saw this hole in a building, which ended up being a window. And the next thing you know, he's talking about prayer. And in this place of, he goes into this whole, there's heavenly places in the astral realm. There's hellish places. that seem to be like hell in the astral realm, where everything that we have to deal with on our deepest emotional and unconscious levels from childhood and beyond are in these places that we have to deal with, but ended up in a place to where he had to be totally submissive. So for all of you people out there that like to control things and think that you're in control of this or that, or you do things in your life to try to control whatever, right? If you're like me, because I do that stuff. Even though I don't mind going after the unknown and it excites me and it's all an adventure, there's still like things inside me that I want to control. But there's no freaking way you can do that, especially where he was. Like, he could have been picked. Think about that. And who knows, with all the people that he was laying next to, like, were they dead or were they just astral travelers? Like, who were they? What the hell was the serpent thing? And why be so submissive? Why the torso? It's freaking weird. It's really weird. It's a strange night for me. I got up today and I started adding the new shows to the station, welcoming some of the new hosts and stuff, because we're making new processes for all of them, and changing some of the business models and people that are really trying to do stuff for their shows. And I don't know why I just started thinking about all this stuff. Because no matter what you do in your life, like no matter what you're trying to achieve, you may not get it. You may not get there. You may not ever get what you want, but you're not going to get anywhere if you don't try or make a decision, which is a whole other chapter. I think that was in his second book, where he talks about how the most toxic energy in the realms of consciousness are in a state of ambivalence or indecision. It's like a pit. But think about that, right? So in those places, this is where people are trying to control things. And then in the other realm that he went to, where the serpent thing was, he had to be totally vulnerable and submissive, and not even to it's like his choice was taken away. And the only time I can think about something like that, because we, as humans, that's our biggest power. Everything in the universe is doing what it's supposed to do. The reason why we're like miniature creators is because of the cause and effect of our choices and the karma of our actions and stuff, right? So, but that gives us creative power. But on the total opposite end, we don't have a choice anymore. Like, this is what death represents, the loss of our power to choose. And the extreme awareness of how powerful it is at the same time. You ever notice that? Like, we don't have real transformations in our life until something wakes us to hell up. Whether it's a near-death experience, something happens to our health, or we almost die, or we get into a complete state of helplessness. But there's some kind of like relief to it. You know how people always say, well, there's more drama being born than there is death. Death is actually a relief. I can totally see it. I can totally see that. I'm not trying to be morbid or anything, but like, I could see that, because I've been trying to control things my whole life since I was born. I mean, from the time you're a baby, you're screaming at the top of your head to get milk, right? Or food or whatever. Like, you've been doing all kinds of stuff to get what you want and make choices and control things. And then when you get to a certain age, you're like, there's just stuff that I have no control over. And then spiritually, it's even higher than that. If things in the astral realm happen just as fast as you feel them and think them. He talks about that too. Like, he was exploring, and the second he had a massive emotion, his emotions would lead him into a whole different scenario instantly, where it was something he had to deal with, right? But even then he had a choice. This place that he went to where he was, it sounds like a nightmare to me, but it wasn't to him. It's like a letting go, or almost before the death. And that statement now, when I hear someone saying coming into his kingdom, it doesn't make me think of heaven and on earth after listening to all this. It makes me think that death is on its way. What if that's what it really means? This whole idea of something coming into its kingdom, whatever this thing was, you could call it God, the great serpent, light, Lucifer, whatever you believe it to be, actually means the loss of control and choice in every single sense of the word. Total submissiveness, total vulnerability. And only then can whatever is supposed to happen, come into his kingdom, so to speak, happen. Ooh, that's freaky. Isn't it? Because I like Joe. Don't you like yourself? Don't you like all the things about yourself, all your little quirks, all your pleasures, everything that you've been through, everything that you think you are? Don't you like it? I do. I mean, there's things about myself I don't like. I'm sure there's things about yourself you don't like, but just it's throw it all away so I can have something come in and that I have no idea what it is. And then you listen to the Gnostics, that they talk about the demiurge and these gods that are just trying to trick you and steal your energy and take all this stuff. And I remember listening to Art Bell where this guy was like, don't go to the light. It's a trick. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative. I swear I'm not. I'm just saying there needs to be a little bit more investigations going on before we just give in to woo-ness or wokeness. This is why, like, when I talk about magic and stuff, I'm like, hey, just stick to the elements and the four angels, and you'll be amazed at how far you can get just with that. You don't need all this other stuff or daily protective stuff, or a lot of me talking about that is really just me projecting my fears about all this stuff into my show, which is what radio's for, right? So we can express ourselves. But think about it, like on a microcosmic level, look at what we've done here. We just go off and believe whatever. And now our society, it shows us in our society what happens when we do that. Whether it's dogmas or the three-letter the companies or whatever, we just want someone to tell us what to do because we're trying to control. We don't want to feel this uncertainty or submissiveness or any of this stuff. Like, just tell us what to do so we don't have to do it, or you do it for us and just stick me, and yeah, we'll stay home and whatever. You see what I mean? And I was talking, I can't believe it's one already, but I was talking to Thomas Gorns from Paranoid American about this, like, about we need to be like half anarchists and half, I guess you could say, progressive. Anarchist, not in the way of like, let's just burn it all down and start over, but more like anarchists in the way of understanding that true freedom comes from, this is something I learned from anarchy, right? True freedom comes from dealing with the long-term things, a little pain, a little uncomfort, so you have the right to be truly free. Versus like the freedom that we've been told, which is a big fat lie right now, which is the freedom to be comfortable. That's what this is all about. The freedom to be safe and comfortable. Anyways, I'm really wigged out about this serpent thing or whatever. If you guys want to comment on it, you can call in at 1-800-588-0335. It would be much appreciated. And yeah, I really have no idea what this thing is, but I'm going to try to keep studying and find out about it, because I don't think we have to be afraid of serpents just because they're snakes or scary or whatever. But the only texts that talk about it, the serpent represents the winding force of creation, life, and also wisdom. A lot to think about here. Anyways, we'll be right back. I'm Joe Rupe. This is Lighting the Void. We're in deep thought tonight. Late night on the Fringe FM. You guys stay with us. 1-800-588-0335. All right, so I want to talk a little bit more about this guy's travels and my theories on some of this stuff. Heaven, hell, all that. I think one of the reasons why we were taught about hell. I think a lot of the stuff that we were taught about religion has a lot to do with what happens to us energetically and karmically. I'm serious, man. I think a lot of the dogma comes from that, because they something wasn't ready to tell us the truth about all this. Like, it just wasn't, because I don't think we could handle it at the time or whatever, but that's stupid, right? Like, we're beyond that. We need to decide things for ourselves nowadays. But I got to think. I do got to thank our station sponsors. MyMusicPromoter.com, IamDarkWaters.com, TalkStream Live, the Paranormal Radio app, all the people that have been donating to the station, all the members. I got new stuff coming for y'all. The meditations are coming out. I'm splitting them up, though. I know the people at the Contact at the Cabin event want me to do the whole battery that I did there, and I'm going to have that. It's just going to be in a sequence of different meditations, and I'll tell you why. Because this is part of the reason why. Because this stuff is real, man. It's not anything to play with. This is my theory, okay? You can investigate it however you want to. I hope you do. But this whole enlightenment, this kundalini, this opening ourselves up to these energies is real. This process of the great work, this LVX force, the Holy Guardian Angel, whatever the hell you want to call it, it's real. There's just too much stuff, at least in my explorations of this, to say that it is. And everything about the meditations that we do opens you up to this. This is why, just send me the people are just so excited about these meditations. And look, it doesn't really matter what you believe. If I feel a responsibility to tell you this, that doing energetic work, whether you're using your powers of visualization, concentration, observation, opens you up to things, to energies, period. Most of the work that's done in the beginning is balancing and protective stuff, but it's also opening up these channels in a safe way. I think it's safe, but it's important that you know what it is. To open yourself up to higher energies of the elements, to purify yourself, so to speak. Because you hear people talk about purification, and it's like, oh, that's snooty and snotty. It's not. It's righteousness, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't mean that you have to be without fault. It just means, I believe it means you should be energetically mature enough to understand these things at this point, or at the point of letting these things in. And if you're not, and you're doing the great work, things are going to happen, like some of the stuff that I talked to you about. Obviously, I'm not. I don't believe that I am. This is why there's so many barriers and things that I have to deal with here in life and in the astral realm and the stuff in our dream life. But we are working this out. You got to see this stuff as blessings, really. So when we open ourselves up to this higher force, we know how to protect ourselves. And even biblically, they talk about testing spirits in the Bible. So for people that use I would say subconsciously, the Bible is a reference point for truth. Think about that. Like everything needs to be tested along the way. You can't just give in to stuff because it was written. And the way Robert Monroe was talking about heaven and hell was basically the same way the Vedics or the yogis describe karma. Whatever energies you take into this place, you're going to have to deal with. So I'll give you an example, right? Let's say that you were an enlightened person back in the Jesus era. And you understood all of this. You understood that whatever that you haven't dealt with, if you astral travel or when you die, you might have to deal with this stuff energetically before you leave or whatever. And all that includes all the good things, bad things, good things, whatever. And if you were the type of person to have a very fearful or addictive personality or whatever, and you knew the hell that some of these people were going to go through spiritually, even if you know that in the end they're going to end up where they belong, you still don't want them to go through those things. But you can't explain some of this stuff. I think, Sadhguru is even talking about this. You can't explain some of this stuff logically. So you have to say, okay, well, if you sin or you do bad things or whatever, you're going to go to hell and you're going to burn for eternity or whatever, just to scare the hell out of people so they don't energetically get involved with things they're not supposed to. I'm not saying this is good. I don't believe. I think people were probably smart enough to understand it back then, surely. But this is what some of these priest kings and all these people thought, right? That a lot of us were profane or whatever, we wouldn't understand it. Or whether it's the energy of what you take in, which is, there's an alchemical mystery about that, and the fires of your digestive system. Sadhguru talked about that too. All this stuff is Western, Eastern, it's all the same, I promise you. Or whether it's the fires of your sexual forces, all of that stuff too. So what do? Marriage, make sure you just stay stuck to one person and all this other stuff. And they're trying to save you from something they understand that they think that you don't understand. But I think, what if they would have just said, okay, here's the mysteries, right? This is what the bridegroom really means, and this is what the stuff really means, and tried to explain it the best way they could without making religions out of it, and then told us the power of our choices was the biggest power that we had as creators, because nothing else in the universe makes choices except maybe like animals, but they don't really make choices. Their primal bodies take over most of the time. But we as humans are at an ascended level enough on the life scale of creative choices. Like every choice we make really affects everything. It's a lot to take in, right? I could see why they would make scripture and religion and dogma and all this stuff and say, man, these people don't understand what they're dealing with, but let's put this into some story and mythological context and things like that. Again, I'm not saying Jesus isn't real. I think he was. But the story is told in symbol. The story is told in allegory, even his name, Christ and all, it's all symbol. Why? But here's the cool part. When you come to understand like the elements, the elemental work, like you start to understand the mystery of love in a different way. Like it's just a preparation for something bigger, something next, something that's on the other side. Even if we do come back here, it's like we're growing our souls lifetime after lifetime through the soil of our bodies. And I believe at this moment, whatever you want to call it, I don't care if it's consciousness, if it's spirituality or if it's just in intuition, there is something there trying to reveal more to us right now. I mean, think about it, right? Let's think about it on a macrocosmic level, not just in your life, but on a societal level. We've got the freaking internet. We've got access to all kinds of information. We got 150, 60,000 podcasts coming out a month. Everybody's investigating themselves and everybody else on a mass level. You know, back in the day, they used to open up scrolls and sit across the table and argue with each other about things that we all understand nowadays, even on a bigger level. And it just seems chaotic, right? Doesn't it? It seems like we're all coming to this point. Or what Art Bell called the quickening. I think there was something real to that. Because because if we got to deal with all this crap after we die, like all these energies that we, like say we didn't deal with, and it's all chaotic, and then I think it's important to understand that. I also think that maybe whatever's, how do I put this? Maybe whatever's trying to teach us this is allowing us to have out-of-body experiences in higher conscious levels so that we can begin to understand that, because things are starting to speed up in a way. And so again, I'm circling back to the point of the show. Why are they speeding up? Because I think we're all getting pushed to this point. Or maybe it's a midlife thing. I don't know. But you get pushed to this point of, you understand that someday at some point you're going to be as far as this life goes, you're going to be as energetically and as consciously as everything. You're going to have a peak. I mean, you just are. You're going to peak. And if you don't learn to surrender at that peak in your life, or when you pass away, or if you don't understand charging energy and releasing it, or even psychologically charging all this crap in your mind, letting things go, or emotionally going, building things up and letting it out. If you don't understand this cycle, you're going to suffer. I think a part of understanding this cycle is freeing, like understanding, letting go. The let's just say the Fool card. You know how the other day I did a show on the devil and the lovers and how it shows the contrasting energy of the two. Well, even higher on the tree, it shows that with the magician and the fool, which represents what we are. We're manifesting beings. We think and we feel and we do all this stuff and we charge up all this energy. We are the magicians, all of us in a way, like we're transmitting, We are the vessel and the transmitter. But in order to manifest whatever it is as we're trying to do this and understand this, we have to jump in, we have to let go, and that's the Fool card. And whatever happens is going to happen. It may not happen the way that you want it to happen or whatever. But I think life is teaching us this will and surrender type thing. Will, surrender, charging, discharging. Gordon White calls it cycling, right? Learning how to get into the rhythms of these things so that we can, I think when we get to, whether it's our physical death or that spiritual place of surrendering even to the second death of our ego or whatever it is, our individuality, that we'll kind of understand it. It's like a fundamental that you understand. If you go through all of your life and someone teaches you how to do a karate chop and that's it, then you don't understand how to strike fundamentally, I guess is what I'm saying. So we go through our lives and we learn all this stuff that we think is suffering or whatever, but it's teaching us fundamental things. And I think at some age, like Mary was talking about, we can get to this point in our life where, like, look, I understand this stuff now. I don't have to learn it through pain anymore. I can just learn to let go when I need to. And that's a lot of what, like, astral traveling shows people, because the more balanced you are, that I've noticed reading these books from William. You ever notice how William Buellman and Robert Monroe and some of the best astral travelers are like, they seem like really balanced people. And I don't just mean emotionally, but intellectually, and their life is balanced. They're kind of just really, their presence is really balanced. Their energy is balanced. And they seem to go farther in these realms than some of us that just barely get out of body, or we're stuck, or we have weird dreams that don't make sense, or just the chaos of it all. But I know that you've had an adventure, either whether it's been in a dream or astral traveling, that was awesome. It seemed to last a really long time. That had a nostalgic feeling to it, that you went further than you ever went before. And at that point in time, I believe your body was probably, not just your body, but you as a person was energetically balanced on a level that you could explore things further. It's only when we get all knotted up that we can't do crap. And this is kind of like what I think what faith is and all that stuff, but it doesn't mean it's not scary, man. The Robert Monroe story, if you guys, I've probably preached this to the point of extreme redundance, but if you guys get the first book and you listen to these chapters where he's having to submit to things, the stuff that he's having to go through, some of it is terrifying, or it would be to the average person. And it makes me think about a lot of movies too. What was that movie? The Never-Ending Story. When Atreyu had to go through the statues, and I forget what they told him. What did the people tell him? They told him if his heart was good, or, if he had no fear. That's what it was. He had to pass through the statues with no fear. He had to, it's just another, and you see this in a lot of movies. It's just another symbol of letting go with complete vulnerability and faith. And the first step, I think, is taking total accountability for the things in our lives, right? Like total responsibility and accountability for stuff, understanding all of the stuff we've been through, learning from it, growing from it. And we can't get to that place without facing fears, right? I have an experiment for everybody that listens to the show, and I don't want you to do you don't have to do anything major, but just for this week and next week, I can almost guarantee you, because we're in March and we're about to be in Aries season, we're about to be in like the spiritual new year, right? So you're going to face something that you are extremely afraid of. If it's your first time doing this, do something small. Like if you're afraid to approach somebody, approach them or whatever. But most of us, if we're doing this work and we're tapped in, are facing things like this right now. But in a way, you kind of feel forced to, don't you? Like you don't really have a choice. I think the sooner you understand that, hey, all I can do is protect myself the best I can and then let go. You still got to keep moving, though. That's the crazy part about it. There's still going to be a moment of vulnerability. That's what I'm starting to realize. It doesn't matter how much magic you do or how much whatever you try to do to control things or for power or for whatever. There's still going to be at some point, a complete vulnerable place that you have to let go and give away. And isn't it funny, like most of the things in life when we do that, whether it's like skydiving or riding a roller coaster ride or doing something we're afraid of, usually it ends up being awesome, unless we're just doing something ignorant. Right? But it gets a little weirder too. So, I got a theory about what this black dog is that I saw. So somebody, I don't know, I haven't checked the Discord yet, but if you guys want to, you can message me in the Telegram. You can also email me at contact@lightingthevoid.com. You can message or give a shout out in the Fringe FM Discord. Make sure you guys sign up for the event too that's coming up next year, 2023. They're already taking deposits. They've got quite a few deposits actually for the next magic event, Magic on the Mountain in Mount Shasta is where we're going to be at next time. So contact@thecabin.com. Make sure you sign up for that too. Be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. You gotta, if you're like, I don't think anybody knows that song probably. Maybe a few people listening to the show know that song. I think that song is, there's some 80 songs. I was watching this on TikTok. There's some 80 songs right now that are actually 35 years old, man. I can't believe that. I'm about to turn 40. I'm freaking out about it, actually. Yeah, where were we? I'm going to get into this I'm going to wrap this story up of what I'm getting at here. Tell you some more weird high strangeness in the astral realm. But this study just came out, or this article on Study Finds. This is dancing is good for masculinity. It helps men understand their identity. This research team conducted a survey of men who took part in boys' dance groups between the 1990s and 2008. In an interview, he said dancing was a good way of expressing themselves physically and made them more positive about their bodies. It also helped them grow more confident discussing life's important questions. More aware of the body. Another thing that Sad Guru was talking about today, or not today, I don't know when he did that interview with Joe Rogan, but it made them capable of reading other people's body language. Yeah, I'm starting to realize why I like ceremonial magic. More and more, I'm starting to realize why I like it because, let me just finish this thought real quick. Additionally, a dance floor session helped them understand the concept of being different and helped them cooperate with different kinds of people. One dancer adds the hobby saved him from having a narrow outlook on life. Isn't that cool? Men often try to hide their love of dance. Sadly, many of them found their experience of giving up dancing traumatic after they did it. You see this, ladies? Guys, like, they want to connect with you, and then when you take it away, they get all traumatized. But this is just dancing. This is just guys getting in touch with themselves, right? It doesn't mean it's not even necessarily feminine. There's masculine dances. And you remember when I was talking about to the Paranoid American guy, how I found out how like a lot of this stuff, whether it's people training cells or relationship stuff or whatever, all these courses and things was just NLP, and it took the romance out of things, which broke my heart. Like it always broke my heart. It still does. That we're programmable. I'm coming to terms with that we're programmable. But the whole idea of magic is understanding that, right? Because you have the logic or the rational and the irrational. I mean, if you walked into a room and you saw someone vibrating certain things like vowel sounds or God names and had incense going and colors and all this stuff, you'd think it was nuts, right? It's irrational. But the magician understands, and it's almost like a celebration of understanding all this stuff, the ceremony of it. It's something the Catholic Church understood. You know, the ceremony of using symbols and your senses so that you can intake an idea, and then using drama, vibration, or let's just say the feminine side of things. So you're bringing the two in one to manifest stuff. I guess the reason why I'm starting to realize I fell in love with ceremonial magic is because I'm a romantic, right? So it's a disciplined way, because in my experience, like, romance just ends up fading out. I don't think it ever should, but it just does. It doesn't matter what aspect of life. Even when you work jobs, you're like really passionate about it or whatever. It's a new job. It's something that you get into. There's a romance and passion and fire to it, but it burns out and it becomes mundane. And then you got to go get a new job, or your relationships are the same way, or you have, you know, when you get into like working out and doing your body, and then people peek out and they give away, and then they go back and they let themselves go. I'm guilty of that. I've did that too. And you just keep going through the same cycles of stuff over and over again. But if you understand these higher principles and you do, like, I would just say cognizant, or you're aware of the rituals you do every day, and then you start to become aware of your patterns, and you stop blaming other people for this or that, right? Like, you start to realize all of this is my energy. So it's all within my power. Then I guess for what I'm trying to say, I don't know about you, but for me, magic was a way to keep the romance alive in my life. To blend the masculine and feminine together in my life. And it does profound things. I mean, it still does to this day. Even when I'm going through shit, like the synchronicities, the things that happen, the dreams that come true, stuff like that. Really, you don't know how powerful you are. And that's a cliche thing to say nowadays, isn't it? Everybody's saying that now because everybody wants to hear that. But it was really cool to hear Sadhguru say that. He said it's, you know, Joe Rogan, who seemed to be a little bit more logical than him, but that I like logic too, you know. And he said, what's about being superhuman? And Sadhguru's like, no, it's not really about that. It's about understanding that humans are super. And the guy, man, just he has a lot of higher understandings that he can't explain logically, but he's really good at it. I really wish I could talk to him, and maybe when we get another guest on, I know if I got some people coming on, some of the old guests are coming back on, but maybe we can go back and ask them what the hell this serpent thing was. What could it? Robert Monroe never figured it out. What could that represent? I mean, we got this whole gender, you know, the law of gender thing that we understand in Hermetics too, and gender roles have become more flexible in recent years, especially as far as like the man's role and all this, the woman's role and all this stuff. But it's still in our nature to be a certain way. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's really pouring outside right now. So if you hear that in the background, I'm sorry. It's kind of like being back at the shack again. Remember when I used to do shows and you could hear crickets? Now it's like the beach, wind, and rain. But think about that as a man, right? If you're a man and you're really protective, most people that are really into their masculine will like die for what they love, right? So I'm a little old school. I'll give you an example. How we like to protect things and and but if you let it get to a certain point, then it becomes possessive and it becomes controlling, and then it becomes abusive, etc. Right? But back in the day, my dad used to tell me this too, like, And I believe him when he told me this. He said, when you decide to pick who you're going to spend the rest of your life with, or you tell somebody that you love them, that means, it doesn't mean that you're attracted to them. It doesn't mean that you have a chemical understanding or whatever, right? Like, it means that you would die for that person. So we all have people that we would die for. And I thought about that too. Like, what if I had, I have to teach my son this, that if he ends up marrying this girl he's with, or whoever ends up marrying, he has to protect them with his life. It's a big decision, right? So if you're a guy and you have this energy in you, and then you end up in a place of total submissiveness, I wonder if it's harder for dudes. I wonder if dudes are just more controlling type people, or maybe just the masculine energy as a whole has a little bit more like clinginess to it when it comes to not letting go. This is why it depicts in the mysteries like women are I don't want to say women. How about just the feminine is a better vessel for spirit? Actually, you need all of it for the Holy Spirit to work, like the whole Trinity thing, right? But I can only imagine what Robert Monroe was thinking when that was over, because this was a man that like grew his business. He grew an empire. He grew a media empire. He bought up a bunch of radio stations, grew a media empire, then started an institute, had a family. He's pretty well balanced and controlled, and ends up in a place way early in the game. I mean, he ended up in this, whatever the hell this place was, way before he got enlightened to what some of this stuff was. Lying on his back in his second astral body with his belly poked out, face to the floor, waiting for this thing to come into his kingdom. Total submissiveness and vulnerability. And that's kind of what real, if you want to get into like real manifestation, if you want to manifest the things that your soul desires the most in life, you have to be willing to take the hits and willing to let go. As things get violent, and I've learned this too personally, things can get out of hand, they can get chaotic, even violent or abusive, manipulative, all these things that we do as humans, because we love our power of choice, but we're not ready to let go and let whatever's happen's going to happen. And I think a lot of us right now have anxiety because did we do the best that we could do? Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Did we do the best that we could do, like with this vaccine thing and all the lies and crap that have been going on? Did we? Because we're at this point where we're going to have to let go. I'm not saying that we can't keep fighting, and we're definitely going to keep trying to find out the truth, but I can tell you right now, that's coming out regardless. So we're about to find out all the way up to 2023 and into 2024. Did we do our job? Or did we do the best we could with our families? You see, I realized that's what a lot of my pain was, a lot of what that black dog in my bed was, that old wound. I was carrying a pain that I had for over 10 years. I was carrying this burden. Where I felt like that I failed, that I didn't do good enough. I thought I'd let it go. I thought I stopped blaming myself. I thought I wasn't a failure as a father and a provider and all this. I thought I let all that go. But God or Spirit sent something into my life that represented, even for a moment, that feeling again. it was so profound to me, actually, the more I think about it, how spirit does this. It's not just a thought, right? Like, I actually experienced that kind of love again in my life. And all at once, it came rushing in. The big, like, someone, as much as I brag about facing fears and all this other stuff, it came rushing in all at once. A pain that I'd been carrying for 10 years that I need to let go of. Like, I'm not ready for that because I don't want to feel that again, that deepness again, and that type of stuff again, and then feel that failure again, right? But it wasn't the blessing. Even if I failed again, it wasn't the blessing of that. The blessing was understanding the pain that I've been carrying for 10, God, I don't know when. Let's see, I got divorced in 06, right? I think 06 or 07, something like that. 06. So that's really, man, that's way more than 10 years. You don't think you can carry something that long, right? That a wound or a burden or a baggage. But it also shows me, if you read any of Israel Regardie's stuff or the Golden Dawn material, like as you go through the traumas being the most recent traumas that you went through, and you start working your way back, if you're healing traumas that happened to you a long time ago, man, you're getting somewhere. And at this point, like, I don't know about you, but I'm at this point in my life where I know there's lots of things that have to change, but there's nothing I can do about what's happened, you know? So we have to let go. There's nothing we can do about what happened with the vaccine and, the virus being released or how it was released, or even at this point, we know a lot of the freaking companies that did what they did were totally wrong and they were trying to control things. And there's still this freaking, I would say, especially with this Great Reset stuff going on, there's still this totalitarian thing going on, but a lot of it's being exposed for what it is. And I think a lot of us are anxious, like, did we do? I'm just talking on a macrocosmic level because I can only relate to that and my personal life, but did we do the best that we could trying to expose these people? Did we fight hard enough? Did we talk enough? Did we rally enough about it? Because we're going to have to deal with the karma of if we did or if we didn't, the actions we took or the actions we didn't take. So in a sense, I think a lot of magic, the transcendental side of magic, so to speak, is about that. The manifesting side of magic is just about energetically, charging and letting things go, and also understanding the fundamentals of it. But on a transcendental level, it's about going through those cycles to kind of heal things inside of us so our spirits can grow. And how do we do that? We do that by connecting. We do that by becoming one with others and sharing our energies and things like that so that we can see these things. Because everybody's just, everything in your life is just a mirror of what's inside of you. But I'm not so sure about the astral realm. Like, I'm not so sure where Robert Monroe went, what he saw and what he experienced, if that was symbols or if it was an actual place. Or when he met these 3 subhuman beings that was laughing at him because he was praying to his God. It just seemed like almost as if what Carl Jung was talking about became more real than real to him. And even though some people talk about how they can astral travel to the same places and go on adventures together and things like that, what they see, I still believe, is skewed by their own individual energies and what's going on in their life. there was only a few people that could actually do it exactly to the T like the other person, and see the things exactly what the other person saw, and those were with children. Doskolos talked about it was with his grandchild. But anyways, it's something to think about, right? So when you get into, I'm just saying, like, the biggest question is for tonight, or what I want you guys to think about is, like, what is this place that we're having to come to where we need to understand that there is going to be a letting go, or this death and rebirth energy, because we're starting to see it in all aspects of our lives and even conscious travels. And if anybody probably will hit me back on the podcast, but if anybody can understand this serpent thing, or that Simus moon, if you're listening, if you go back and listen to that chapter, tell me what you think that is, because I'm clueless. Up next is the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for donating and keeping us alive on the station. Thanks for all the members, you guys on the Telegram that got to see my ugly mug tonight. I love you guys too. Up next, we're going to have the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. He's going to take you further into the late night. Support the show. Sign up, become a member if you can. I'm sure I'll get more members, though, when I release this stuff. I'm just a little, like I said, man, I want to do this right because I really believe these energies are real. And once people start using this stuff and they start using, you know, like the middle pillar and all of these different things, it's going to open up energies that I can almost guarantee you're going to have some astral experiences with it of some sort. And I want to make sure that I do this right. So you guys, just be patient with me. It's coming, I swear. I just don't want to. I'm just doing kind of like a lot of prayer to make sure that it's right, you know, or make sure that I'm not doing anything stupid. All right. All right. I'm trying to find this, trying to find my song here actually to go out on, but it won't insert. By the way, I want to say, Dave, I got your message. No, I'm not mad at you. Like, I really appreciate you saying that. If you guys ever send me a message, please, like, if you do, even if it's through Patreon or if it's through email, please don't worry about, like, if you're going to hurt my feelings or if there's something that you don't want to say that you're afraid to say. I really respect brutal honesty, actually. The more honest you can be, the better. And everything that you guys tell me in those messages, unless it's something that we've talked about on the show or whatever, all the personal stuff, I promise you will stay between us. All right? All right, I got to get out of here. You guys have a good night. Sweet dreams. Stay tuned for the Secret Teachings. Night-night.